Hello everyone, this is Joe of TeamDeathMeta giving you a deck update today. This is an update of my DDD deck that I have now just recently started uploading to the channel because one, I love this archetype. It's one of my favourite archetypes in the game and we've just recently got it, so there's a lot of playtesting that I'm doing with this deck, trying to make it as good as possible all the time. Just because I really want this deck to succeed, because I just feel like there's so much potential in this deck. And ignoring all that, the reason I'm doing this deck profile is because there's a lot of changes to the deck in the way that it now runs, and the choices that I've made for the deck. Recently, at my locals last week of me uploading this video, I entered a YCS event at my locals. They just hosted one. It's the first one I've ever been to, and I expected to be a lot of meta decks. I expected Cosmos to be there, Magi Spectres, Infernoids, Psyframes, all that kind of stuff. And so I took DDDs because I felt like it's the best matchup to that, because it has a lot of cards that can side up against those matchups that not only benefit the deck but doesn't hinder us as much as it would hinder other decks, and just at the same time just destroys those meta decks. Also, I just really wanted to play the deck just in general. Again, as I stated, I really love this deck and I've just recently built it and I want to see how it works. And so I'm going to run through the deck as it is now, the changes I've now made to it since that YCS, and I'll explain some picks and choices, and as well as the side deck, as to what I personally think that you should be running in DDDs. So with all that said and done, let's get to the deck profile. Oh, I actually just wanted to say, I got 35th place and I got top half rank in the whole event. There was over 70 people there and I got 35th with DDDs. I got 3 wins and 4 losses. The matchups I won against were to Magi Spectres, Madolches, and Chamber. Chamber being the funniest one because it just naturally beats Chamber. So with all that, I lost to Cosmos, another Magi Spectre, Pepe deck, Ignites, and Heroes. The reason for that though is not the deck's fault, it's the fact that I just naturally didn't get into my side deck cards in games 2 to then counter those decks. All the other matchups I actually managed to get into my side deck cards, and because of that the deck just naturally managed to beat them. This is another side deck card that I use and I'll explain it later on. And so with all that said and done, let's just get through the deck profile. Starting off, the obvious one is the Free Servant Kepler. Searches out our dark contracts to then go through our plays further and search through our deck even more. I've upped to 2/7 Galley for the fact that this also ties in with the 2 Berthamet now. Berthamet at 3 just wasn't working in the sense that I didn't need it at 3. After playtesting it a lot, the 3rd Berthamet just wasn't needed, and it just felt like this could have been something else, or just in general I just didn't need it at 3. So by taking 1 out, I put in a 2nd Galley because the DD count still needs to be at a certain number for the deck to work fully. Having 2 Galley just helps in the fact that I can bounce my dark contracts before they finish me off, which has happened a few times in fun games. And so, yeah, that's the reason why I have now Galley at 2. 3 Abyss Ragnarok standard. Just goes through all your power plays. Is just probably one of the best cards in the deck, except for Kepler and Swellslime. and yeah, you just need him at 3. And 3 Rebel King Leonidas, still need him at 3 until we get further support. Then we have 2 Baphomet. As I stated before, the drop down, I just didn't need a 3rd one. Baphomet I still think is needed. It's another DD count, it's a good level 4, and it helps us go into our Wave King Caesar very easily to go for a good build, to just have a good board with protection. Then we have a 3 Swell Slime, probably one of the best cards in the deck. Just goes through all your fusion plays, it's one of your best fusion cards, and it just generates board presence by bringing out our Dark very easily. And same thing with Necro Slime, still at 2 until we get Temujin. The 2 for me personally is the standard number for this card. Once Temujin comes out though, we can bump this up to 3 and have enough fusions in our extra deck to fuel Necro Slime and Swirl Slime at the same time. And so yeah. And then to round up the monsters, we have 2 Max C. I took out Effect Vader for Max C because in terms of the meta nowadays, as good as Effect Vader is, it just doesn't help against those matchups. Considering Magic Spectres can't be targeted, and Cosmos just, unless it's not their ships, they just don't care as much. Effect Vader just doesn't seem that useful. Max C helps this deck a lot more in the sense that it helps our draw power just in general, and just helps us speed through the deck by not searching. Searching is great and all, and I'm happy that we have a spell on a monster that just searches out all of our deck. But the fact that Dark Contract and Negate needs to be on the field, and the burn costs can hinder us. I say can, it still does a lot. And Kepler needs to be summoned, thus using up our normal summon or using up resources just to get a search. Having Max Seed for draw power is just all around better for the deck and for our matchups. So that's our monsters, 20 monsters. For our spells we have 3 gates, standards, such as all of our monsters. It's 2 Swamp King, I still like 2. It helps me bring out Wave King, Oblivion King, Caesar Ragnarok, which just in general is probably our strongest monster, except Cayuga. And it has won me a few games, or at least is bringing me back from a loss in the game. And so that's why I still like Swamp King. And at times you won't have your Swirl Slime and you won't have your Necro Slime. As much as we try to, we just won't have it, so Swamp King helps. 1 for 1 searches out our Kepler. Foolish Burial sends our Necro Slime to the grave. And then Magic Planter. I've taken out Allure of Darkness for Magic Planter for the fact that I don't like Allure of Darkness's banishing effect for this deck. This is me personally. I know a lot of people just still use Allure of Darkness. They think they look at the positives over the negatives, but I feel like with the way that this deck is at the moment, negating or removing as much negatives as possible is better. Yeah, you get to draw 2 cards, and all of our deck except for Max C is dark. But a lot of these cards we need. The only ones that I would actually banish from Allure of Darkness is Galley and maybe Leonidas, and that's about it. Everything else we just really need in our hands for play, whether at the moment in time or in the future. So I thought, well, what else can I take out and put it in? I thought trading. For the fact that we have Abyss Ragnarok, but we only have Abyss Ragnarok, and that's the problem. Until we get Doom, Hell Armageddon, which is the other level 8 in the archetype, having trading won't be as good because we only have 3 targets. So I thought, well, what else? So then I was flicking through my volcanics and I found Magic Planter. And Magic Planter is just naturally a good idea for the deck. In the sense we have all these continuous traps, and then further continuous traps in our side deck, that magic planters just should, in theory, be a lot better. And so I've been testing it out. When I've been drawing it, it's actually been doing quite well. I might bump it up to do 2 just to see how fast I can make the deck. The whole deck will have to be changed a lot for it to work properly, but in theory magic plants is very good, so I advise you take a look at it, because you know it's a good golden card probably in the archetype that is not in the archetype. For the rest of the spells we have 1 Soul Charge, 1 Book of Moon and 2 MST. Those are staples and quite obvious. And for the traps we have 2 Witch, still 2 Witch, pops problematic cards, gives us a boost during the opponent's turn, and it's just all around a great trap. Then we have 2 Dark Contract with Errors. Now I've taken out DDD Contract Warp Change, for the sense that at the event when I had it still in the deck, I always sided it out. It was never useful in game 1. I do see the potential in it, and it's still a good card, but it just wasn't useful to me. It just never helped me out. I never drew it and just been like, great, I've got it. The restriction that the opponent has to attack is, you know, doable and bearable, but I just didn't need it. And the fact that I always sided it out wasn't a good sign. And so I thought, well, what else can I have in it? And the deck naturally just struggles with traps. Like every other power deck, they struggle with trap cards. And so looking through other people's profiles and all that kind of stuff, looking through my cards, and just I double looked at Errors, and I'm now testing it out, and it's been doing very well. The combination it has with Vanity's Emptiness is just absolutely amazing. And the fact we can literally shut off Emptiness during our turn and then turn it back on in the opponent's turns is just such a good combo that not many other decks can utilize. And so testing Errors is very good, helps getting rid of problems that the deck struggles with, and it's just all around a great card. So yes, Errors now too. And then we have Contract Laundering. This is another way for us to wait, is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. Contract Laundering is another way for me to test out the draw power in the deck. Getting rid of dark contracts that we don't need on the field anymore. Essentially the same thing as Magic Planter, but a little bit slower, but then it targets our spell cards. So I'm testing it out at 1, though this might be the one I take out for a second Magic Planter. But so far I can't really say it's good or not, mostly just for the fact I haven't drawn into it. The fact that the sad thing is we can't search out with Kepler because it's not a dark contract, it's just a normal contract, is a little bit problematic, and so I'm still testing it, though I can see myself taking out for a second Magic Planter. Then we have Vanity's Emptiness, just stops all the decks really. That's still us, but no, we can turn it off. And yeah, just helps us with the matchups and helps meta and all that kind of stuff, and just literally shut off special summoning for the opponents. Warning to negate summons, and Grand Horn of Heaven to stop summons. Then the extra deck we have 3 Darks, still staple, we need it. 2 Caesar Ragnarok for the fusions. And then we have Dawn King Kyuga, 2 Wave King Caesars, 1 Rebellion Dragon, 1 Castel, 1 101, 1 Big Eye, Dracosac, Flare Metal Dragon, and Felgrand. The extra deck I've just sped through just because it's generally the same as the last extra deck. There's nothing really to explain other than the fact that I now have Arc and Big Eye because I've taken up the 2 Synchros because I no longer have Glow Up Bulb in the deck. Quickly touch on Glow Up Bulb. It's fun. It's, you know, it helps us go into synchros, but I just never used it at the tournament. I always sided it out. It was that fun gimmick just to get back, you know, the whole, probably the main goal of the this archetype, to do all extra deck summons. But until we get Night Howl and the other tuners in the new deck, synchro summoning is just not needed for the deck, and it's just more of a problem and a hindrance than, you know, beneficial. As much as I love Scrap Dragon and Spark Dragon in this deck, they're very good cards in this deck and they work really well. Glow Up Bulb just wasn't consistent enough. Quickly running through this side deck though. This side deck, I really feel like all you DD players should look into and invest getting it. This side deck helps the deck match up every meta deck at the moment in current time, which is Cosmos, Magispectors / Pepe, and well, Cosmos, Pendulum decks, and Cyframes. And so, running through it all, we have Chaos Hunter. This is what I found on Simo's channel on his Tech Tuesday, and this benefits this deck and helps this deck a lot more than every other deck, because it is affected by Witch, which then during the opponent's turn he becomes a 3500 instead of a normal 2500 if any other deck uses this card, and just really shuts down Cosmo if you can get the timing right, and if you're lucky enough that they don't have a big ship, which is the problem I had in my Cosmo matchup. When I had Chaos Hunter, they had a big ship instead of the Slip Rider, and so you couldn't get the timing right, and I didn't have Witch on the field at the same time, so, you know, otherwise I could have just easily summoned it even if they played a big ship, and, you know, they can't do anything. So Chaos Hunter, you need it at 2. I say you need it at 2, but this is what I advise you need, that you have in your side deck. Then we have the Virus Traps, which is Deck Devastation and Epidemic. These help your Pendulum matchups, all of them. Magispectors die to this card if you can get the timing right. I managed to get it turn 1 of their turn, and just get all of his monsters out of his hand. Every Pendulum in his deck just got destroyed, and the only one from Pepe that naturally lives from this trap is what is it? Trick Clown and what is it? The Vanguard Dragon Pendulum. Which are useless without anything else, and you sending them to the graveyard, they can't get it back with Pendulum summoning. So Devastation Virus is just absolutely amazing in this deck. You can even main it depending on your locals, but at least needs to be side decked. Epidemic Virus just gets rid of Pendulums as well, in the sense that if they're in the hand they still counter spells against this card, as far as I know the rulings to that. If not, it just gets rid of every other spells and traps that you're just struggling with. Mind Drain, perfect card against Cyframes. It hurts our Swirl Slime, but then we have Swamp King to counteract Mind Drain, which just is what I mentioned a little bit earlier, which is just amazing for this deck. And then we have Ojama Trio. This is to stop pretty much every deck that focuses on Xyz summoning. It stops Pepe, or at least slows them down. They can only do one Xyz summon / Pendulum summon while their tokens out. It hurts Cyframes a lot, which is this is one of the reasons why I had this in my side deck, to stop Cyframes, because they can't do their plays while they have another monster out. And it also slows down other decks. This helped me a lot against my Adultery matchup, because it just filled their board, so they couldn't do their big massive plays. And so I highly recommend you try this out too. And so that's the deck profile, people. Hope you all enjoyed it. Sorry if it felt like I rambled along, but there's a lot of stuff I needed to explain, and I just wanted to share with you my thoughts and ideas on this deck in the future and at the moment, in regards to especially the side decks. And again, sorry if this sorry this video is very long. Hope you all enjoyed it though, and if you did, rate, comment and subscribe in the down below and on the channel, it'd be greatly appreciated, though you don't have to. I will see you all guys in the next video. Goodbye.